That's a great question, because we can't just stop something and not replace it with something else. And we've, at least in the state of Maine, we've had a lot of success with music and memory as being part of like the solution. There's a lot of protocols that are geared toward the resident themselves. So usually if somebody's having behavioral issues and I come in, I ask the staff, what are you doing for that resident that's different than everybody else? And if the answer is nothing, then you need to look at that person's activities during that day. What are they stimulated with? What are they keeping busy with? Are they being taken to the room at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon to take a nap because they need to be out of the way and now they're up all night as a result? There are memory quilts, there are things that people can fiddle with, there are visuals. Most dementia patients actually lose their sense of music and the tactiles last, and even smell, but we're not doing a lot with smell. It's not technologically possible yet. But you could have a person who is really totally aphasic, not even talking, and they would sing along with a song or be happy hearing a song. Somebody who's flat affect and they appear to be sad, completely sad, and not interacting with their environment, and suddenly they would hear something or smell something familiar or see a familiar face, and it changes their day. And what we need to do is harness the available techniques and methods and systems to fit that person's needs, that particular person's needs. Not everybody would love country music. Not everybody wants to be in a group activity, for example. So it needs to be specific to that resident, and it's good that we're increasingly having alternative options. And I should say, like, for the record, the limbic system is very closely linked to the olfactory system, and the limbic system is our emotions. And so if you want to improve quality of life and sense of well-being, anything that taps into that is really going to be having more success. Tactile, because it's so broad in the brain, it does touch on a lot of the brain. And you do, you know, with Alzheimer's, while it's the entire brain affected, it's like a bushfire that went through the brain. Some of the parts may still be able to be stimulated, and when tactile is so broad, it affects a lot of the brain. Visual is very specific. That's why when we get a stroke in a certain part of the brain, we lose our vision. Whereas, you're not going to lose your tactile from a stroke. You might lose a hand. It's really right there.
Right there. Directly connected to the brain.
The olfactory nerve goes under the brain into that limbic system. That's the inner part of the brain that kind of acts like a crown where the brain sits on it. So you will see, for example, somebody who's, we have sensory aphasia, so as part of dementia. I'm taking care of a patient now with that. So their dementia is so bad that wildfire reached the part of speech understanding. So she's fluent, she speaks, but she doesn't understand the commands. So people would want to, can you stand up and come with me? And she wouldn't understand. So what they do is tactile. They'd be holding her hand, but it needs to be slow. You need to have eye contact. You need to not to rush. And then now you're sitting right next to them and moving with them. They think that's what people need to do, so they're doing it. They go with the herd. As far as, just comforting people, there's a lot of touching with the CNAs. In fact, one of the things we sometimes have to stop is that. And it's very hard, like for people who have a short fuse and they want to be left alone. They don't want to be asked questions. They don't want to be touched. It's very hard for the CNAs to break that cycle. So we have to specifically say, no small talk, no touching, leave them alone. But 90% of the time, that's what they do. And I do when I'm doing my visit. It's hard for me not to hold hands or not touch. Yeah.